Most people will spend their entire lives hoping someone finally notices them, hoping they get chosen, approved, applauded. But the rare few, they stop waiting. They choose themselves. And that small decision, to turn their focus inward instead of outward, shifts the course of everything. See, you weren't born to be a reflection of someone else's expectations. You weren't meant to trade your peace for approval or your energy for applause. Yet most of us are conditioned from the start to measure our worth by the opinions of others. We're told to be kind, but not too bold. Confident, but not too loud. Ambitious, but only within the lines. And before we realize it, we're living a life that looks good from the outside, but feels hollow on the inside. But what if that quiet discomfort you've been feeling is actually your soul asking to be reclaimed? So if you're tired of playing roles written by others, if you're ready to study your own soul the way a Stoic studies virtue, then stay with me. What you're about to hear might just give you back your life. And if that speaks to something deep in you, please subscribe to commit to a life lived deliberately. Because every small act of awareness is a step toward inner freedom, and that's what we're here to cultivate. Long before you ever questioned it, the world had already decided what you should be. Quiet here, polite there, smile when you're uncomfortable, agree when you're uncertain. You were trained to play a role before you ever understood who you were. That training didn't come with a warning label, but it came with consequences. You learned that love was conditional, that acceptance had a price, and that the easiest way to survive was to stay within the boundaries others built for you. You weren't taught to listen to your inner voice. You were taught to override it, and so you did, again and again, until the silence inside you didn't feel like a choice. It felt like normal. This is deeper than just culture. This is something that carves itself into your nervous system. When you constantly perform for others, when your actions are dictated by fear of judgment or need for approval, you begin to associate self-expression with danger. You don't just avoid speaking your truth, you start fearing it, because every time you did, there was a cost. Maybe someone pulled away, maybe someone got angry, maybe you were told you were too much, too intense, too sensitive. So you adapted. You reshaped yourself like clay in someone else's hands, trying to mold into something more acceptable. And for a while, it worked. People liked you. You fit in. You learned how to play the part. But deep down, something felt wrong. Because even when everything looked right on the outside, the inside felt hollow. You started to feel like a stranger in your own life. This kind of disconnection doesn't happen all at once. It builds in layers. First you hide a thought, then you silence a desire. Then you pretend a boundary doesn't exist. And over time, you forget that you ever had a self separate from all that pretending. The scariest part isn't that the world asked you to abandon yourself, it's that you agreed. Not because you were weak, but because no one told you that you had the right to choose otherwise. No one told you that your thoughts, your needs, your voice mattered just as they are, before they're polished, before they're packaged, before they're pleasing. And now here you are, maybe successful by the world's standards, maybe surrounded by people, maybe even admired, but something inside you still aches, a quiet sadness that you can't explain, a fatigue that doesn't go away with rest. A persistent feeling that you've drifted far from something real. And the truth is, you have, but not beyond return. That feeling you've been trying to push down, it's not weakness. It's the alarm bell of your soul calling you back to yourself. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, not who your parents hoped you'd be, not who your job needs you to be, not even who your partner wants you to be, just you, raw, honest, whole. But to return to yourself, You have to face the ways you left. You have to look at the habits you formed to keep the peace, the beliefs you adopted to avoid conflict, the dreams you shelved because they felt inconvenient. And none of this is easy. It hurts to admit that you've betrayed your own nature just to feel safe. But that pain is sacred. It means you still care. It means the part of you that was silenced still wants to speak. And if you're willing to sit with it, not run from it, not numb it, you'll find something far more powerful than the mask you've worn to survive. Because the truth is, you were never meant to perform your way into belonging. You were meant to embody it, to walk through the world knowing that your worth isn't something you earn, it's something you remember. But that kind of remembering doesn't happen automatically. It takes presence, it takes honesty, it takes the willingness to disappoint others in order to be loyal to yourself. And yes, that might feel uncomfortable at first. People may resist the version of you that stops conforming, but that's not a reason to stop. That's proof you're on the right track. You don't have to tear everything down overnight. You don't need a dramatic escape, but you do need to pause. You need to ask yourself, what part of me have I been hiding? What have I been saying yes to that drains me? What have I been avoiding just to stay accepted? These questions aren't easy, but they're necessary, because until you answer them, your life will belong to everyone but you. The path back begins with something simple but radical. Noticing. Noticing where you shrink, where you fake, where you feel the ache of your own absence. And when you notice, you reclaim. Little by little, decision by decision, you start choosing yourself again. Not because it's convenient, not because it's easy, but because it's true. And in a world that trained you to forget, remembering yourself is the most powerful act of resistance there is. Silence unnerves most people, not because it's empty, but because it's full of everything they've been avoiding. In the quiet, there are no roles to play, no expectations to meet, no distractions to hide behind. There's just you, bare, unfiltered, honest. And that's exactly what makes it feel so uncomfortable. We've spent so much of our lives performing for others that when the audience disappears, we don't know how to act anymore. The noise of life, the conversations, the endless tasks, the constant scrolling keeps us comfortably distracted. But when the noise fades, we're forced to confront something far more difficult than external chaos, the inner world we've neglected. It's in that stillness where everything true begins to rise. When you stop talking, stop reacting, stop running, what's left behind is the raw presence of your being, and that presence holds more answers than any advice you've ever been given. But silence doesn't flatter your ego. It doesn't validate your identity. It doesn't clap for your efforts. Instead, it asks you to sit with yourself, not as a character in a story, but as a human being without a mask. That's where discomfort meets opportunity. Because clarity isn't something you find in the world. It's something you uncover inside yourself when the world stops speaking. We've been conditioned to fear silence because it makes space for emotions we've buried. Regrets, doubts, old memories, forgotten dreams. But these things aren't there to harm you. They're there to teach you. When you make space for silence, you make space for healing. You start to notice the parts of yourself that have been whispering beneath the surface for years, hoping you'd finally slow down long enough to hear them. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." But that retreat isn't available to those who never stop moving, thinking, reacting. You have to step back, to step in. And stepping in doesn't mean retreating from life. It means engaging with it from a deeper place. Silence isn't passive, it's powerful. It's not a pause in your growth. It's the foundation of it. The truth is, most of your answers won't come from others. They won't come from noise, from advice columns, from motivational clips. They'll come when you create a space so still that your soul has no choice but to speak. But for most people, the moment silence arrives, they reach for something to fill it. Music, messages, a screen, anything to avoid the quiet. Not because they don't want peace, but because they don't know what to do with it. Peace is a discipline, and like any discipline, it demands practice. At first, silence may feel like a void. It may even feel like loneliness, but that's only because you've lost the ability to befriend yourself. When you begin to treat solitude not as a punishment, but as a gift, you realize that the quiet is not empty. It's spacious. It's where your thoughts can breathe, where your nervous system can reset, where you can finally distinguish between the voice of the world and the voice within. In a world that never stops shouting, choosing silence is a revolutionary act. It's not about disconnecting from others. It's about reconnecting with yourself. And the more you sit in silence, the more fluent you become in your own emotional language. You start to recognize patterns. You catch the early signals of burnout. You understand what genuinely excites you and what secretly exhausts you. These insights don't arrive through force. They arrive through space, through presence, through attention. Over time, silence becomes less frightening and more familiar. It becomes a place of refuge, not retreat. A place where you're no longer at the mercy of external voices telling you what to want, who to be, or how to live. You begin to write your own internal script again, one that isn't shaped by fear or image or the pressure to perform. And you realize something profound. You were never lost. You were simply drowning in noise. This is the gateway, not to isolation, but to wholeness. Silence reconnects you with the parts of yourself that have been waiting patiently in the background. It makes you more present with others, not less. Because the more at home you become in your own presence, the more deeply you can meet the presence of another. Real relationships, whether with people, purpose, or truth, can only be built from a foundation of inner stillness. But it starts with your willingness to stop filling every moment, to stop fearing the quiet, to listen, not just to your thoughts, but to the silence underneath them. That silence has always been there, waiting, guiding, offering you something the noise never could: truth. And once you begin to honor that space, even just for a few minutes each day, you'll notice the shift. You'll become more grounded, more intentional, more clear. You'll stop reacting to life and start responding to it from a deeper place. And most importantly, you'll begin to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. There's a lie you've been sold your whole life. That time is your most valuable asset, but it's not. Time without focused attention is just empty space. It's not the hours you have, it's what you do with them, what you give to them. And most people are giving away their attention like it's disposable. They scroll endlessly, consume passively, say yes to things they don't mean, listen to opinions they never asked for, and every time they do, they leak energy, quietly, constantly, until there's nothing left for themselves. It's not that you don't have time to build the life you want. It's that your attention has been hijacked by everything that isn't you. That's the real cost no one talks about. Your attention decides what grows, what you water, lives, what you neglect, withers. And if you're always looking outward, always reacting, always absorbing, then what's left to create something of your own? Not just projects or goals, but a sense of self that's rooted in intention. This isn't about productivity, it's about ownership. You can't build anything real in your life, peace, purpose, identity, without owning your focus. And the world knows this. That's why everyone wants it. Platforms, brands, people, even ideologies. They feed off your attention, shape your thinking, manipulate your desires. And if you're not aware of it, You'll keep giving them everything without even realizing what it's costing you. The things you pay attention to, consciously or not, become your internal world. They shape your thoughts, your moods, your identity. You start repeating the language you hear the most. You start craving what others value, even if it never mattered to you before. You begin to confuse visibility with truth and noise with importance. And without noticing it, your mind becomes a reflection of the loudest voices in the room instead of the quiet truth inside you. Seneca warned, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere. When your attention is scattered, so is your presence, so is your power. You're not rooted anywhere. You're pulled in every direction, but anchored in none." And the worst part, it feels normal. It feels like modern life. A little screen in your pocket that constantly tells you what's urgent. A feed that decides what you should think about today. Notifications that scream for your reaction. But underneath all of it, your inner world is starving. Not for entertainment, not for information, but for your own gaze, your own questions, your own curiosity. You don't need more stimulation. You need more connection to yourself, your values, your real priorities. Reclaiming your attention starts with noticing where it's going, not with guilt, not with shame, just awareness. Where do you feel most drained after spending time? Which conversations leave you fragmented? What types of content hijack your mood? The more you start tracking your attention like it matters, the more you realize how often it's being stolen. Not with force, but with your consent. Every time you check your phone without purpose, every time you agree to something you don't believe in just to keep the peace, every time you avoid your own silence by drowning in someone else's noise, that's a transaction. And you are the one paying. But it doesn't have to stay that way. You can start drawing that energy back in. You can decide that your focus belongs to you. That not everything gets access to your mental space. You can choose to curate your environment like it shapes your mind, because it does. What you see, what you hear, what you repeat, these things don't just visit your mind, they build it. And when you become selective with your input, your output begins to change. You speak with more clarity. You act with more conviction. You think more independently. Because you're not just reacting to the world anymore, you're shaping it from the inside out. This is what obsession with yourself actually looks like. Not vanity, not ego, but a quiet, steady reclaiming of your focus. You become the one who decides what's worthy of your mind. You stop outsourcing your thinking. You stop following trends that don't serve you. You stop giving your energy to things that make you feel smaller, less centered, more anxious. And in that space, something powerful returns. Intention. When your attention is intentional, your life becomes intentional. You're not just surviving, you're steering. But it's a practice. You won't get it perfect. You'll still get pulled sometimes. That's okay. What matters is that you notice it, that you come back to yourself, that you don't stay scattered. Because every time you return, you rebuild. You root yourself deeper in your values. You make choices that reflect who you really are, not who the world tried to turn you into. So the question isn't whether your attention is being used. It is. The question is, by who? And for what purpose? Start noticing. Start pulling it back. Start giving yourself the focus you've been giving to everything else. Not because it's trendy, but because you are the only one who can live your life. And if you're not present for it, no one else will be. Most people don't grow up learning how to feel. They learn how to hide. Emotions are tolerated only when they're convenient, only when they're quiet, only when they don't make anyone else uncomfortable. So you adapt. You hold back tears. You smile through frustration. You bite your tongue when something inside you is screaming. Over time, this becomes automatic. You don't even notice you're suppressing. You just call it being strong. But strength isn't the absence of feeling. Real strength is knowing what you feel, understanding why it's there, and choosing to meet it with honesty instead of fear. We've been trained to treat emotions like intruders, something to manage, something to fix, something to get rid of, especially the ones that don't look nice: anger, sadness, grief, shame. But what if those emotions aren't problems? What if they're messengers? Every emotion carries a message. Anger says a boundary has been crossed. Sadness signals loss or unmet need. Anxiety often means something inside you is being ignored. And yet, instead of listening, most of us try to shut them down, distract, deny, avoid, because facing them feels overwhelming. But avoiding them, that's what really does the damage. What you bury doesn't disappear. It waits. It finds other ways to speak, through exhaustion, burnout, resentment, numbness. You weren't born emotionally disconnected. That disconnection was taught. You learned it to survive. You learned it to be accepted. But now that you're here, now that you're aware, it's time to unlearn. Because obsessing over yourself, truly devoting your energy to your growth, means learning the language of your own emotions. It means treating them as allies, not enemies. Listening to what they're trying to tell you instead of pushing them away. This isn't indulgent, it's intelligent. It's what self-awareness really looks like. You can't master yourself by ignoring what's real inside you. When you start viewing emotions as data, not drama, everything shifts. You stop taking them so personally. You stop thinking they define you. You start asking better questions. What triggered this reaction? What am I afraid of losing? What need is not being met? This kind of inquiry isn't soft, it's sharp. It reveals the patterns you've been repeating for years without knowing. It reveals the places where you've abandoned yourself just to keep things peaceful on the outside. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Your emotions are one of the clearest windows into your unconscious. If you ignore them, you keep repeating the same story. But if you face them, you get to rewrite it. And no, this isn't about staying stuck in your feelings. It's about moving through them with clarity instead of avoidance. Because emotions that are felt, processed, and understood don't linger. They pass through. They transform. It's only the ones you suppress that become chronic. Emotional pain turns toxic only when it's left unattended. But when you acknowledge it, when you let it teach you instead of define you, you grow. You evolve. You become less reactive, more grounded. You begin to respond instead of explode. That's real emotional maturity, not control, but conscious response. Most people never develop this. They react to life instead of relating to it. Their emotions are like storms they hope to survive instead of signals they learn to navigate. But you don't have to live that way. You can build an emotional toolkit. Simple practices that keep you steady when your nervous system starts to spiral. Breathwork, journaling, stillness, naming your emotions out loud, moving your body to release tension. These are not luxuries. They are necessities. They are your tools for building emotional resilience. And here's what happens when you begin to trust your emotions. You become more aligned with yourself. You know when something's off, even if no one else notices. You sense when you're being pulled out of your integrity. You catch yourself before you collapse into people-pleasing, overthinking, or self-sabotage. Your emotions become your early warning system. They let you know, in real time, when something is wrong or when something is right. They lead you toward truth, not away from it, but only if you let them speak. The greatest shift you can make is to stop outsourcing your emotional state to external circumstances, to stop believing that your peace depends on other people's behavior, that your joy depends on things going your way, that your worth is proven by how emotionally stable you appear to be. Your emotions are yours, not to suppress, not to project, but to understand, to hold, to work with. You create your own emotional weather by how you relate to your inner world, not by controlling everything around you. So the next time something stirs inside you, rage, grief, fear, pause. Listen. Don't label it as wrong. Don't rush to fix it. Ask what it needs. Ask what it's trying to show you. That one moment of pause, that shift from reaction to reflection, is how you reclaim your power. Because the person who understands their own emotional patterns cannot be easily manipulated. They cannot be easily shaken. They do not break every time the world moves. They bend. They adjust. They stay rooted. You've spent enough of your life trying to be emotionally acceptable. Now it's time to become emotionally aware, not for the sake of appearance, but for the sake of freedom. Because no matter how smart you are, no matter how strong you are, if your emotions are leading you in circles, you'll never break free. But once you begin to see them for what they are, signals, not threats, you start to return to yourself. You begin to live, not in resistance to your inner world, but in harmony with it. And that's when your life begins to change, quietly, powerfully, from the inside out. Rejection cuts deep, not because it's painful on the surface, but because of what we think it means underneath. Most people take rejection as confirmation of what they fear the most, that they're not enough, not worthy, not wanted. So they fold, they shrink, they try harder to fit the mold. But what if rejection isn't proof of inadequacy? What if it's just evidence that you've outgrown a space that no longer fits? That who you are becoming no longer bends comfortably into who others expect you to be? The truth is, rejection is often the first response the world gives you when you start stepping into your real self, not because there's something wrong with you, but because the role you used to play has been disrupted. We live in a world that loves predictability. It's easier to categorize you when you stay consistent with the story others have about you, when you're agreeable, pleasing, compliant. But when you begin to break out of those roles, when you stop nodding to keep the peace, stop laughing at what isn't funny, stop saying yes to what drains you, the pushback is immediate. Suddenly, you're difficult, you're distant, you've changed. But that discomfort people feel isn't really about you. It's about the shift in their control. They can't shape you the way they used to, and that challenges the balance they've relied on. Rejection in that moment isn't punishment. It's proof that you're becoming untouchable in the best way. Still, it hurts. You'll feel it in your chest, in your stomach, in the quiet moments when you wonder if being yourself is worth the cost. But it's in those exact moments that something powerful starts to unfold. You begin to see what relationships were built on performance instead of truth, what dynamics existed only because you stayed small, and what kind of life opens up when you stop needing to be chosen. Rejection doesn't say, "You are worthless." It says, "You no longer belong in this version of the story." That's not a tragedy, that's clarity. Rejection is a mirror. It reflects what you've outgrown, what no longer resonates, and sometimes what you've been tolerating for too long. When someone dismisses you, questions your worth, or distances themselves because of your authenticity, they're doing you a silent favor. They're showing you who your truth unsettles, and sometimes that's the very confirmation you need to keep going. It's tempting to take it personally, to fall into the spiral of questioning your value. But what if, instead of asking, "What did I do wrong?" you asked, "What did I do right that made the mask no longer necessary?" Carl Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." And that's because full self-acceptance almost always comes with loss. You lose the comfort of the familiar. You lose relationships that required your silence. You lose the illusion that fitting in is the same thing as being seen. But what you gain is worth infinitely more. You gain freedom. You gain clarity. You gain a kind of inner loyalty that no one else can give you and no one else can take away. The people who reject you because you've grown will never be the ones capable of holding space for who you really are. And the longer you try to cling to their approval, the longer you delay becoming. Because you can't evolve and stay agreeable at the same time. You can't speak your truth and still be everyone's favorite version of you. You can't reclaim your life without first facing the places it was never truly yours. That's what makes rejection a gift wrapped in discomfort. It points to the exact places where you're still negotiating your identity in exchange for belonging. And when you stop doing that, when you choose to be rejected rather than be false, you stop outsourcing your worth. You stop chasing places you were never meant to fit. And you begin creating a life that reflects your reality, not your role. That doesn't mean you become cold. It means you become clear. You stop trying to explain yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You stop watering yourself down just to be digestible. You stop living in fear of being too much or not enough. And in doing so, you attract what's real. Real people, real purpose, real peace. But none of that begins until you stop seeing rejection as failure and start seeing it as redirection. The pain doesn't mean you're broken, it means you're awake. It means you're no longer numbing yourself into relationships that require you to lie. And yes, it might be lonely at first. The silence after rejection can feel heavy. But that silence is also space. Space where something new can grow, something honest, something yours. This is how you reclaim your power, not by convincing anyone to keep you, but by deciding you no longer need to be kept in the first place. You don't need to be chosen by people who only liked the version of you that was easy to manage. You need to choose yourself so fully that being misunderstood no longer shakes you, because you know that being seen clearly is worth far more than being liked conditionally. So the next time you're rejected by a person, a group, an opportunity, pause before you collapse. Ask yourself, was I pretending to be someone else to be accepted here? If the answer is yes, then rejection just set you free. And if the answer is no, if you were fully yourself, then you've just been spared from continuing a life that couldn't hold the weight of your truth. Either way, you win. The body never lies. Long after your words have dressed things up, long after your mind has rationalized the discomfort, your body still tells the truth. It holds what you try to bury. It absorbs what you pretend doesn't bother you. It keeps the tension of every agreement you made when your gut said no. Every time you smiled through resentment, ignored your exhaustion, forced yourself to please someone else at the expense of your peace, your body noticed, and it didn't forget. That tightness in your chest, that chronic fatigue, that heaviness that no amount of sleep seems to fix. That's not just stress. That's your body telling you that something about the way you're living is out of alignment. It's easy to overlook. After all, we're taught to treat the body like a machine. Push through, stay productive, keep going. Rest is weakness, pain is a nuisance. But your body isn't here to be conquered. It's here to communicate. And when you ignore its signals long enough, they don't go away. They get louder. First, a whisper. Then a discomfort, then a breakdown. And by the time you realize what's happening, the disconnect has already cost you, mentally, emotionally, physically. We often think of boundaries as something we enforce with other people, but the first boundary is with yourself. It's knowing when you've reached your edge. It's honoring the point where something shifts from sustainable to self-destructive. When you don't honor that, your body becomes the battleground. You can lie to your friends. You can lie to your boss. You can even lie to your journal. But your body, It tells on you. The headaches, the tight shoulders, the gut issues, they're not random. They're not separate from your emotional world. They are your emotional world, made visible through sensation. Carl Jung wrote, "The body is the soul's reason made visible." In other words, it's not just skin and bone. It's a record of your internal truth. It remembers where you were violated and said nothing. It carries the tension of unresolved grief, unspoken anger, swallowed sadness. And no amount of self-help can bypass the fact that your body has been part of your story from the beginning. You can't outthink your nervous system. You can't outmanage your biology. You have to meet it, listen to it, work with it. This isn't about chasing perfect health. This isn't about appearance or performance. This is about survival, and more than that, about presence. Because when your body is in distress, your mind can't settle, your spirit can't rise. You're constantly playing defense against invisible enemies that live inside your own skin. But when your body feels safe, when it feels heard, cared for, supported, everything changes. You think more clearly, you speak more powerfully, you feel more grounded, you stop reacting from fear and start responding from truth. That's why obsessing over yourself means treating your physical state as sacred, not just as a tool to get things done, but as a living compass guiding you toward what's true. Start noticing. Where do you feel tense when you enter certain environments? Where does your energy drop after talking to certain people? What foods leave you anxious? What habits numb you instead of nourishing you? These are clues. They're not random. They're maps back to yourself, if you're willing to read them. Taking care of your body isn't just about what you eat or how often you exercise. It's about how you listen, how you rest, how you breathe, how you honor the subtle cues before they become screams. It's about paying attention to when your body says, "I need space," and not overriding it with another task, another meeting, another obligation that was never truly yours to carry. It's also about movement, not for punishment, but for reconnection. Your body wants to move, not in perfect form, not for external praise, but to process, to release, to express what words cannot. Movement isn't about control, it's about liberation. When you treat it like a ritual of care instead of a test of worthiness, it becomes medicine, it becomes healing. But the healing only begins when you stop ignoring the fatigue, when you stop dismissing your pain as normal, when you stop calling survival strength. You were not meant to drag your body through life like a burden. You were meant to live in it fully, to feel alive inside your skin, not just functional, not just tolerable, but alive. You will not reach your potential in a neglected vessel. You cannot do meaningful work, build meaningful relationships, or live with meaning at all if your body is constantly trying to recover from the way you treat it. It is not an inconvenience. It is not a background object. It is the home of your entire experience, and every decision you make is filtered through it. If your body is in distress, your choices will be too. So maybe it's time to stop asking, "How much more can I handle?" and start asking, "What is my body trying to say?" Because it's always saying something. And if you stop long enough to listen, you might find that it's not just holding tension, it's holding wisdom, clarity, truth. It's not against you. It's trying to protect you, trying to pull you back into alignment, into honesty, into wholeness. Your mind may forget, your habits may betray you, but your body never stops speaking. The only question is, are you finally ready to hear it? There's a strange pressure many people carry, the belief that their purpose is something they have to chase down, as if it's hiding out there somewhere, waiting to be discovered in some distant future. But what if purpose isn't something you find? What if it's something you remember? Something you've known all along, but forgot the moment you started trying to become who others wanted you to be. Because there was a time, probably early on, when you didn't question what lit you up. You simply followed it. You played, created, explored, not to be productive or praised, but because something inside you felt awake, alive. But then came the noise, the structure, the conditioning, the subtle, repeated message. That thing you love doesn't matter unless it makes money, pleases others, or fits the mold. So you buried it. You started surviving. And survival has no time for wonder. It has no space for curiosity. It doesn't nurture the voice inside you. It quiets it. Slowly, over years, that voice fades under responsibilities, social pressure, and the endless demand to fit in. You follow the script. You learn how to do what's expected. You learn how to succeed on the world's terms. But something always feels off. Not wrong exactly, just distant. Like you're walking in shoes that aren't yours, speaking words that aren't your own, smiling in places where you feel unseen. And deep down, there's a question that never stops echoing. Is this all there is? That question isn't a problem. It's a guide. It's the part of you that hasn't given up, the part that remembers. Purpose doesn't scream. It doesn't compete with noise. It waits in the quiet, under the layers of performance. It lives in the small things that spark something real in you, the moments you feel at peace without explanation, the activities that make time disappear, the expressions that make you feel like yourself again. And to reach that place, you don't need a 5-year plan. You need stillness, attention, radical honesty. But remembering your purpose isn't glamorous. It rarely comes with applause. It comes with a feeling, a resonance, a quiet knowing that in this moment you are aligned. You are not performing, not pretending, not proving. You're simply being. And that being feels meaningful. This is where most people get lost. They keep chasing external signs, recognition, validation, a perfect label. But resonance doesn't come from the outside. It's felt, not explained. And you can only feel it when you stop numbing, stop rushing, stop outsourcing your decisions to what's popular or safe. The truth is, your purpose has always been with you. It's in the patterns that repeat in your life. It's in the kind of problems you're drawn to solve, the conversations that light you up, the pain that made you wise. But you can't see those patterns if you never stop long enough to look. That's why self-reflection isn't a luxury, it's a responsibility. It's how you begin to connect the dots between who you've been and who you're meant to be. You don't need to invent your purpose. You need to remove what's blocking it, the noise, the fear, the belief that it has to look a certain way or earn a certain amount or impress a certain group of people. And here's the irony. When you start living from that quiet place of truth, when you follow what resonates instead of what performs, the external things you once chased start to lose their power over you. You stop needing everyone to understand you. You stop asking for permission. You stop over-explaining yourself to people who never really saw you anyway. Because you're no longer living to be seen. You're living to feel connected to yourself, to what matters. And in that place, everything begins to align. But remembering your purpose is not a one-time event. It's a practice. It's a relationship. It deepens with time. You revisit it. You refine it. You listen again and again, because life will try to distract you, pull you off course, seduce you into comfort. But the voice never goes away. It's always there, waiting for your attention. And the more you return to it, the clearer it becomes, the stronger it becomes, and eventually it becomes your compass. Not because it tells you exactly where to go, but because it tells you what direction feels like truth. So if you're still searching, pause. Don't ask what your purpose is. Ask what you've been avoiding. Ask what parts of yourself you've silenced. Ask what you used to love before someone convinced you it didn't matter. The answers won't be loud. They won't always be easy, but they'll be honest. And that honesty is everything. It's the beginning of your return. You don't need to become someone else to live a meaningful life. You need to become more of who you already are. That's the essence of purpose. Not a performance, but a remembering. Not something earned, but something revealed. And the more you honor it, the less lost you feel. Because you're no longer wandering, you're coming home. There's a quiet erosion that happens when you keep saying yes while your body is saying no. At first, it looks like kindness. It feels like being helpful, flexible, easy to get along with. But over time, something shifts. Your peace becomes the payment. Your energy becomes the currency. And eventually, you start waking up inside a life that no longer feels like yours. It's subtle, this pattern of self-abandonment, but it adds up. You end up overwhelmed, not because you're doing too much, but because too little of what you're doing actually serves you. Most people think boundaries are harsh, selfish, or rude. But boundaries aren't barriers to connection. They're the very thing that protects your ability to connect, honestly, deeply, and sustainably. They're not cold, they're clear. Boundaries tell the world, this is where I end and where you begin. They're how you carve out space to grow, to breathe, to build. Every time you set a boundary, you reaffirm to your nervous system that your needs matter, that your time is sacred, that your energy isn't something to be accessed on demand. And every time you fail to set one, you send the opposite message, that you come second. Living without boundaries slowly rewires you to tolerate things that drain you. You begin to normalize discomfort, to accept resentment as a side effect of being a good person. But you weren't put here to be agreeable. You weren't meant to spend your one and only life trying not to upset anyone. Because when you do that long enough, you stop recognizing the sound of your own voice. You forget what you actually want. And it becomes harder and harder to tell the difference between loyalty and self-betrayal. It's not about rejecting people. It's about choosing yourself when no one else can do it for you. It's about learning to say no, not as an act of rebellion, but as an act of protection. You say no to chaos so you can say yes to clarity. You say no to obligations that stretch you too thin, so you can say yes to responsibilities that actually align with your purpose. You say no to being constantly available, so you can say yes to being fully present when it matters. This takes practice. At first, it feels unfamiliar, even wrong, especially if you've built your identity around being needed, being nice, being the one who always shows up. But the truth is, always showing up for everyone else while ignoring yourself is not a virtue. It's a slow undoing, and it breeds a quiet kind of bitterness, the kind you carry in your posture, in your tone, in the way your body aches after another day spent carrying weight that was never yours to hold. Setting boundaries is one of the clearest expressions of that acceptance, because it means you finally believe you're worth protecting, that your time, your peace, your inner world matters enough to draw a line and hold it, even if others don't like it. That kind of self-respect doesn't scream. It doesn't need to. It simply decides, quietly, firmly, consistently. And here's what happens when you begin living this way. People who truly value you will adjust. People who were only there because you were convenient will fall away. Both are revelations. Both are blessings. And neither are your burden to manage. Because when you stop making yourself small to keep others comfortable, you make space for relationships rooted in truth, not transaction. In those spaces, you don't need to overgive to feel worthy. You're met where you are, not where you've exhausted yourself to be. Boundaries are also internal. They're the agreements you make with yourself, the promises you keep, like not checking your phone the moment you wake up, like resting when your body asks instead of pushing through because there's too much to do, like holding space for your own creativity, reflection, and growth, even if it means disappointing others who expect you to always be on. You start to notice that peace isn't found in empty space. It's created by the boundaries you build around what matters most. It's not about perfection, it's about alignment. Some boundaries will need to be redrawn, some will get tested, but the more you practice, the more you realize you don't owe unlimited access to anyone, not friends, not family, not colleagues. Access is earned, and your life is not a public park. It's a sacred place, a future you're building brick by brick, and every yes you give must support that future. If it doesn't, it's not generosity, it's self-sacrifice. And that's a pattern you can't afford to repeat. You are not difficult for needing space. You are not selfish for protecting your peace. You are not cold for saying no. You are becoming someone who can be trusted with your own life. That matters. That's how you stop living reactively and start living with intention. And when you start doing that consistently, your life begins to reflect something different. Not just freedom, not just clarity, but wholeness. Boundaries are not about pushing people away. They are about building a life you don't have to escape from. A life that reflects your values, your pace, your priorities. You won't find that life by being everything to everyone. You'll find it by being true to yourself, even when it's hard, even when it's lonely, even when it costs you approval, because nothing valuable can be built without boundaries. Not trust, not vision, not peace, not you. You were never meant to live a life shaped by fear, silence, or exhaustion. You were meant to live with clarity, depth, and power, starting with how you treat yourself. Every boundary you hold, every truth you honor, every moment you choose yourself, you step closer to the life your soul has been quietly asking for. And that life begins the moment you stop apologizing for wanting more. If this spoke to something inside you, watch one of the videos on your screen now. It might be the next step you didn't know you needed. And thank you for walking this path with us. You are, as always, a vital part of the Stoic Journal.